In this video here, we have a triathlete, Bruno, who can swim 1 kilometer at 2 minutes 10 per 100. Let's take a look at his stroke and see what could he do to potentially break that 2 minute mark and go beyond that as well. So the first thing you'll notice from the side here is his body position and his kick. So first thing we always work on when we're looking at analysis is how do we minimize drag? And you can see that in terms of his body line, he is sitting a little bit below a horizontal line in the water. So no matter if his catch and his pull gets better, he's still going to be working against quite a bit of drag. So what we need to do here is work on getting the legs up and the hips up so they don't really come below this horizontal line in the water. Now, if we think about what creates good body position and body line, well, head position is one part of that. Now, when he's swimming normally here, you'll see that his head position is really nice. He's looking slightly forwards. The top of his head's just above the surface of the water. But when he takes a breath, he does turn a long way, which you'll see in another part of this video. But head position when he's swimming, generally pretty good. Now, we can see there's a lot of water on his back, on his legs, and on his bum there. So we need to bring the hips up. My feeling is that the way that he's kicking is probably causing a lot of that drop in hips and legs, because when he performs a kick here, you can see how his leg goes below that body line. Now, when we're swimming, we want to try and avoid the legs coming much below that body line at all. So if we are kicking like we're kicking a soccer ball and the leg comes down there, that creates firstly a lot of drag, but it also means that the kick that you're doing is probably not very efficient. It actually takes a lot more effort to kick that way, plus it slows you down. So what I'd suggest here for Bruno would be, with your kick, think about this part of your legs, where those thigh bones are. Think about those coming slightly back from the hip and slightly forwards from the hip to create this small movement through the top part of your legs. And that will create enough of a movement to actually keep you nice and stable in the water. But the bigger benefit there is going to be, it's going to maintain a much more streamlined position all the way through. And so my feeling is if he could kick that way and keep that body line and that posture in place, then he's actually going to save probably a 4 or 5 seconds per 100 just by doing that to start with. The other thing he may need to think of there is good posture. So think about getting the head away from the toes. So we're just trying to get this length and tautness through the body by being long and tall, sucking our tummy in, squeezing our butt cheeks together a little bit, and that can help kind of bring everything in together here as well. Now, the next thing that I'm looking at is the timing of the stroke. If we skip ahead to the top-down view here, what you'll notice is he's not really in the front quadrant on a lot of strokes. Now, what's that mean by front quadrant? If we were to split the body into 4 quarters here, the front quadrant would be this one out in front of his head. And if we take a look at a lot of strokes here, you'll see that at this point, there's nothing in front of his head. So that means the timing of his stroke is out and he's rushing the catch. Similar thing on this next stroke. So here, position itself's not bad, but then he pulls through too soon. And at that point, again, there's nothing in front of the head. And so that really can throw you the balance and the alignment and the streamline out of position. So the next step would be making sure that we get the right timing in the stroke and not starting the catch too soon. So what's he need to do there? Well, once he's entered the water and he's extending through, think about sending this middle finger forwards as the body is rotating all as one unit onto the side. And the rotation comes primarily from reaching forwards with this arm and making sure that this is all connected. So if he lets this shoulder slide up towards the side of his face as he's reaching through and we're sending everything forwards, that is going to help him keep the arm there. Because what tends to happen is if someone comes in and they just let that arm travel down, but they don't let this shoulder slide up alongside their cheek, then they really don't get that rotation and that timing in place. So he almost does it on some strokes, but he does end up just rushing that catch a little bit. So I'd want him to slow that down, have a little bit more patience through this movement right here. So taking more time out there, or this arm's coming over and we just need to delay that catch a little bit on most of those strokes there. Now, the other part of that too is if you have a look at how his hand's entering the water here, that right hand enters at quite a bit of an angle. It's almost at like 45 degrees through there. And that might be making it more difficult to keep the arm out in front. So I'd suggest turn the hand around so it's palm facing down, not off to the side there. And that will help you be more in control of that arm there. Now, another part of that too is what happens when he takes a breath. So if we go above the water here, you'll see that when he takes a breath, that his body rotates a long way to the side here. So he's probably going close to 90 degrees rotation, which is too much. And at the same time, his legs have really splayed quite a bit at that point. So again, a lot of drag gets created there, and he's probably losing the catch as well when he rotates to 90 degrees, as you can see here. So if we look at shoulders have rotated almost 90 degrees, the arm has come under the body a lot. So you can see how the arm has crossed the center line here, which we don't want to do. And it means he's probably not holding much water there as well. Plus it means that arm's begun to catch too soon. So what I'd suggest here is when he goes for this breath, keep this arm out in front for what feels like a lot longer, palm facing down. So feel like you're kind of skating on that arm, and you only need to rotate about this much. So if we measure it through the back of his shoulders with the surface of the water, okay, he's a bit over 30 degrees. And good rotation is 30 to 40 degrees. So he doesn't need to go much further than that. He could go to there and just make sure he's looking directly to the side. But we can see in these above water shots here that he actually turns a bit far as he gets the breath. So there you can see both goggles out of the water, looking up a bit high. So when you take that breath, look to the side, get up. You're going to be on the side with your body. But if you feel you lose your balance and that arm drops down, there's a good chance you've actually over-rotated at that point. So that's the next part that we'd be looking to work on there. Now, after he's done each of those things, let's take a look at the catch in the pool, because this is where a lot of your propulsion is going to come from. But we need to make sure we've got the right timing first and the right rotation first, because otherwise it makes it harder to achieve a good catch. So on the right arm, you can see this initial movement here. This is actually pretty good because we can see the fingers pointing down, elbow bending somewhat. Okay, so that's actually a pretty nice catch position, probably holding pretty good water there. But because he was starting to catch a bit soon, I think that's where he probably doesn't get as much out of it as he could, because the timing's just off and it's probably not connected very well with the rotation of the body. So I feel like if he was to reach out, rotate a bit more at this point, then go through that same catch, he'd probably be looking pretty good at that point in the stroke. Because you can see here in this back part of it that the palm of the hand is actually turned into the body right there. And so that whole last part of the stroke, and there it's pushing upwards, that whole last part of the stroke is not getting much propulsion at all because the catch has been rushed at the start. So he could get a lot more from that arm with those changes. Now on the left side, we can see here that the palm is probably pushing down a little bit much there, and then the hand turns outwards and not quite getting that high elbow position that we're after at that point. So I think he could work on that catch. So what's he need to do with it? Well, we want to see on that left arm, we want to see the elbow bending more. So a good catch will have the fingers pointing down, elbow bending in that sort of position. So at the moment, he's just pulling back a little bit too early with his elbow. So if he can get used to separating that, so fingers go down, elbow bends, that's going to help him with that part of it. Now, looking at that front on, we can see here that through the catch, the arm's fairly straight. So we would want elbow axe the side, but that hand's got to be in this sort of position here. So 100 to 120 is the angle that we'd see with a good catch in that position, but his angle with the arm is a lot more than that. It's 160 degrees. And so that's where he's probably losing a bit, because that that first part of the catch you can see is actually slipping out or sweeping too far outwards. Then it's got to make its way back in. Finishes pretty well at the back, which is good, but that first part is really just kind of slipping with it out in front. So they're the main things that I can see in his video. If there's anything you reckon I've missed, let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like some help with your own stroke, if you can take video of your swimming, check out our Effortless Swimming membership. And I'll put the link to that in the description below. And that is where you can work with myself and our other coach, Taz, and we'll help you analyze and correct your strokes so that you can swim faster and swim for a lot longer as of the next couple of weeks' time. So check that out in the description below.